All right, so I'm gonna take you through this spreadsheet that I use when I am calculating the potential profit for a flip, as well as the potential profit for a rental, including the rehab. And I like to include, or I like to use this Google spreadsheet because it's so much more intense than just like a rental calculator app or just a flip profit calculator, because this allows me to actually plan out the flip, what I'm doing for all the rehab, all the costs, and everything included like that. So I like to set this up in this way because I can just change a couple of numbers and then the whole spreadsheet will change. And I can just copy and paste this from one house to another house, like just copy and paste it into another spreadsheet. So I'm going to run you through this. I'm not actually going to provide you this spreadsheet because I want you to build it with me, but it's actually going to be super simple for you to follow along. There's no complicated formulas, just a basic understanding of Excel will do. It's all just equals, the plus sign, the times sign. So there's nothing complicated about this. Don't be intimidated by this whatsoever. So if you just go ahead and go to, just type in Google Sheets, or you can do this in Excel numbers, or if you have Excel on your computer or something like that. I know Microsoft has one. I think it's like Microsoft OneDrive or something like that. So here we have the after repair value. So what I do is I go ahead and I build this top section, and these are like my numbers that are usually changing. So we have the after repair value, which is what the property is going to be worth at market value fixed up. Purchase price is what I'm paying for the property. This is selling costs, so this is just the after repair value times 0.06. This number doesn't usually change throughout the rest of the spreadsheet, meaning that not a lot of cells type back into this one, but I like to have this as a quick, like, hey, if I go ahead and sell this property, it's going to cost me $8,400. This is just realtor cost. The repairs section here, let me shut the window. The neighbor's running his weed eater. All right, so here we have the repair, which is just this sheet down here that you can see. This is the total for all the repairs that I've estimated for the actual property. And then this net worth for rental, meaning that if I'm going to keep this property, like I'm not going to flip it, I'm going to buy it, I'm going to keep it. This is what my net worth is going to increase. And this is my total spent category. So after repair value, this number always changes. I'm just going to run through them real quick. I know I talked through them, but just so you can actually fill them in yourself. Purchase price, again, it's just what I'm purchasing the property. And these numbers are correct. I'm actually under contract for this property here. So this is a real spreadsheet that I am using, and the repair costs are going to be real. So this is actually an actual property. None of this is estimated. Selling costs, like I said, doesn't change. So if you want to build this yourself, it's just equal sign the B1 or whatever your category would be for your after repair value times this little symbol here is the times symbol 0.06. That's 6% of the after repair value. That's your selling costs. Your repair cost just equals, and then the cell down here, which would be your total rehab cost there. Calculated for the net worth is the after repair value minus your purchase price minus your repair cost. That's your estimated net worth if you were to hold the property and not sell it, because you don't have to build in selling costs, you don't have to build in taxes on that. So, and then we'll move down into the repair costs. I'm not going to run through each of these, super in depth because they're pretty straightforward. If you want, go ahead and just pause the video and write all these down. You're welcome to copy these. These are just what I use as kind of my standard, repair costs here. So kitchen cabinets for this property I have $1,500. Exterior siding, it doesn't need any. So like I said, I'm not going to go through these super in depth. So these numbers, I know that not a lot of people talk about the actual numbers of that it costs to repair things when you're talking about real estate investing, especially if you're starting out. This is definitely going to be more of like a beginner type video here because we're going through literally everything. These numbers are where I found my material cost to be, because I do a lot of the work myself to cut corners. I'm obviously not super big, so I don't have multiple projects going at a time. So I have the ability to do one project and do a lot of the work myself and save money, not cut corners in terms of like quality of work, just cut corners in terms of spending money. So like this property doesn't need a shower, so I only have $150 for a shower. That's essentially a shower head and some new fixtures. Everything else is fine. Door handles and locks, $400. That's pretty standard for me. So again, I'll let you play around with this, kind of come up with your own numbers. If you want to just kind of copy my numbers, that's fine. a flooring it's equals 900 because it's a 880 square foot house at $3.50 a square foot. That's if I pay somebody else to install it. I think will probably come in more at like 2.4. So that's probably what my actual cost is going to be for flooring. But feel free to change this around. I do like to have a couple categories down here that I can just change depending on the specific property, because every property is going to need something a little bit different. So how you're calculating this end for the total, just in case you don't know, it's equals sum. It's just going to total up all that category, or all that entire row there, and then it's just the B11 through B37 here for me. So that's how you get the total there. And then again, see, I changed that category, and it reflects up in my repair cost here. So that's why I really like the sheet, and that's why I do it this way. And so on the sheet, I like to have everything that I'm going to need in terms of like for the entire property. So for my refinance amount, if my after repair value is $140,000, at a cash out refinance, they'll give me $105,000 back. And I'd like to have all this here because that way when I'm running numbers and I'm running through a property, everything changes. It makes my setup is a little bit longer, but it makes everything else really, really easy. So here, that cell is equals the value, the after repair value, times 0.75, which they're going to give me 75% of the value of that property back out, meaning I have to leave 25% in that property. Meaning that if the after repair value, or if the appraiser appraises it at $140,000, which keep in mind a refinance appraiser is probably going to come in a little bit low because it is a refinance, as opposed to like if I'm going to list it at market, this is market value for the property. We would get back $105,000, meaning that I'd be able to buy it, rehab it, and then get an extra $9,000 back out of the property, which that's super cool. But granted, you could not have this number equal the after repair value. You could change this number to whatever you like. You don't have to have the cells exactly how I have it. But this is why I'm not giving you this, because as you can see, it's just a little bit messy. Like we're going to keep kind of going over, but this sheet's set up perfectly for my size monitor, so I can see everything all at once. But I'm having to zoom in for this video, otherwise you guys would never see it. So here, this is the short-term capital gains tax calculator. This is what I have here. Again, sale at market is after repair value, so these numbers are all changing. Broker fee is just after repair value times 0.06. That's what I'm going to pay in realtor costs. Rehab and purchase, again, these are already cells we put up, so this is just equals one of the other cells. So equals, I'll zoom out so we can see that, equals purchase price plus rehab and repair costs, which I actually could have just equals this cell, and it's the same thing. So short-term capital gains tax is set up for I-9, which is after repair value, minus, so this would be the sale price, assuming this was the sale price. Sale price minus broker fee minus rehab and purchase times a 0.27. I like to run my numbers high to be safe, so I'm going to estimate that after all that, we'll pay about 27% in taxes. With everything going on, keep in mind I'm not a CPA, I'm not a mortgage broker, I'm not a financial advisor, financial planner. So this is just how I run my numbers. I would talk to whoever your CPA is to figure out exactly where your numbers are going to be so that you know that yours are accurate. This is where I run my numbers. I always like to be safe with my numbers. So I would estimate that we would pay about $9,600 in taxes selling this house as a short-term capital gains tax, and make about $26,000 in profit. As we can see this here, I will zoom back in since that's probably a little bit far on the camera. But again, I set all these up because all these change every single time I update a number, because I can update a couple of numbers in this spreadsheet, go run through my after repair value. I know I keep harping on the same thing, but that's why I like it so much, and this is why I think that this is very important, because if you're going to do this multiple times, we're going to do this a couple times a day, even a couple of times a week, it makes the process so much simpler, and that way you're not forgetting anything. So I'm changing my after repair value, but these are really the numbers I changed: after repair value, purchase price, and then rehab. Everything else pretty much stays the same, and then just updates with the sheet. So here we have the 70% rule. I like to have this up because when I'm placing my offers, I like to know kind of what other people are thinking, like other flippers are thinking. Because if they're using the 70% rule, which is after repair value, here, I'll pull it up here. So this is the 70% rule. So we have equals K4, which is just the same as the after repair value, times 0.7. So the 70% rule says you can pay after repair value times 0.7. So 70% of that minus your rehab costs. And that's the max you could pay to purchase the property, because they want to build in 30% profit, or 30% in order to build in for selling costs as well as capital gains tax. So I like to know where they're going to be at or where they're thinking. And so that's why I have this on the sheet here, which means that theoretically, if I was following the 70% rule, I could pay a max of $87,120. I'm under contract for the property less than that, which is great, even though I'm going to keep it as a rental. And you will see why I'm going to keep it a rental as we talk about the rental numbers. And so that's why I have everything on one sheet. But this is the only section that doesn't update with everything else, because the numbers are just a little bit different. So you do need to go in and update these, update the rental sheet by itself, but it's still nice to have it all on the same sheet here. So here we have a rent at $1,800 a month for this property. We will buy it in cash and rehab it in cash, so there won't be a mortgage on it for the first 6 months. But after that, we do have $498, and I'll go ahead and throw that in here just so we can see. This is what I estimated at. I ran the calculator at a $97,500 refi at 4.56 APY would bring our payment to about $498. So that's a good rough estimate. Keep in mind that'll always change when you're doing that. So this is not a hard number, but it's pretty dang close. There'll be no PMI. Taxes for this property are acted at $4,483, equating to $374 a month. Insurance, this is, I pay about just under $900 in insurance. It's less than that, but again, I like to highball my numbers. Manager, this is a fixed cost for me. My manager charged me $150 for a single family. Reserves at $200. This is what I save for a single family. And then cash flow at $495 a month. So this is why I'm keeping this property as a rental, because $495 a month and getting to pocket the $44,000 in net worth. And keep in mind, we're seeing all this all in one shot because everything's on one spreadsheet. That's why this is so great. So pocketing the net worth of $44,000 and getting back perhaps $9,000. Even if they value this $10,000 less, I'm still going to be able to pull all my money back out. So this house essentially is free, which is great. Granted, I have the opportunity cost, I have to upfront the money, but whatever. Free house and $500 a month cash flow and a $44,000 net worth gain, as opposed to, I could just profit $26,000. But since there's going to be no mortgage and the property's really in decent condition, I will be cash flowing $993 a month for probably at least the first 4 months. Let's say it takes us 2 months to rehab the property. 4 months at almost $1,000 a month cash flow. Pretty solid. It's pretty solid. So this is the sheet, and this is why I think it's really cool that everything is in one section. I'll zoom out so you guys can kind of see what I see here. So when I am looking at my sheet, this is what I see. And this is why it's so cool, because update a couple of numbers and update a couple things here, and then boom, everything else is changing. So that's why I think this is so cool. And that's why I'm a big fan of the sheet. And that's why I didn't want to provide you with the sheet, because this works for me. This might not work for you. This kind of like all over the place is not going to work for everybody, but everything's exactly where I want it to be. And yeah, it seems like you're like, it's not super fancy. There's no charts. There's no graphs. It's no whatever. The numbers that I like to have highlighted are highlighted: net worth gain, potential profit, and cash flow. And then obviously a rehab cost in red. So that's what I like to have highlighted. You might like to have more highlighted or less highlighted or different numbers highlighted. So this is what I do. This is pretty comprehensive. This has not let me down yet. And usually when I go back and look at these properties later, the rehab might be more or might be less. Rent might be more, might be less, but they're all pretty accurate. So this allows me to go into a property knowing that I've already looked at the numbers. I have a pretty good idea what's going on. And that way it hedges my risk against, or hedges my bets against risk, because I have all the numbers out and I can go back and look and be like, this is what taxes are going to be, and this is exactly what I paid for that property, and this is what I was estimating. Well, I actually paid a little bit more on rehab, or whatever. So this is why I like to run these numbers, and then I just save these for the properties that I run, and even the properties that I don't get that go under contract with somebody else, or because they always pop back up, or I can just copy and paste them, and that way I can kind of evolve it as things go on. So hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully you're able to kind of pull some knowledge from this. If you want to run just like preliminary, like just really quick, like not this super in depth, and you don't want to pull up this spreadsheet, like let's say you're just watching TV, scanning the MLS looking for deals, you could do the CDS rental calculator app. That's what I use for like multifamily and things where I'm just like, oh, just real quick, just kind of see how profitable it would be for a rental. But keep in mind that doesn't take into account any like hardcore rehab, or doesn't like break down the numbers super far. So that's why I mainly use this. I do use that as like real quick, but mainly I use these spreadsheets and build them out because it's been built out manually, so it's really not a lot of work. It will take you a second to build this and kind of get this how you want it. Hopefully this video is helpful. If it was, make sure to hit that like button. That'd be really cool. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next video.